Hello, welcome to my first Q&A session. So I thought I would do this today since most of you seem to have your questions in instead of doing my usual weekly song lesson. So that my song lesson will be up later in the week. Alright, so let's get after these questions and see what you all would like to see or would like to know about. Okay, so the first suggestion slash question I have is from Beat Me Out of Me. And it says you should do a live stream Q&A and basically read out questions, etc. Perhaps sit with guitar if need be. Maybe do gear reviews, maybe scale lessons. There's so much you can do. I always enjoy your videos. Well, thanks a lot, and thanks a lot for these suggestions. These are really helpful. All great suggestions. So, gear reviews I can't do really since I'm not a store and don't have tons of things. If people want to give me free stuff and they want me to review their products though, hey, if people want to send me the free gear, I will definitely review it. So maybe that's a heads up for manufacturers. If you want to get the word out about your products, I'd love to review it on my channel and give my honest thoughts on it. Honest thoughts. If I think it sucks though, I'll say that it sucks in my review. Okay, so the live stream Q&A. Yes, I'm definitely going to do that. That's just a matter of time. I did some research, and I think for a live stream to be like a viable thing for me to do, I'd probably need maybe a couple more thousand subscribers. So I'm guessing later in the year when I hit around maybe 5,000 subscribers, I'll start doing like live kind of sessions with you guys, and you can ask me anything about that. Okay, maybe scale lessons. That unfortunately is something I've decided I will never do. I will never do like general technique or scale lessons or general playing type lessons on YouTube. And the reason is YouTube pays me next to nothing, and it's getting harder and harder to make money on YouTube. So I teach private lessons for a living. That's mainly how I earn my income. So I'm not going to give that information for free on YouTube. It's just something you're going to have to sign up for private lessons with me if you want that kind of information from me. Okay, so I think I answered that one. The next question is from Garfield Cart. Garfield Cart says, what type of Mesa Boogie amp do you have? I have currently the Mark V 25, so it's the 25 watt version of the Mark V. Really, I think I talked about this in my what kind of gear is best for you type lesson, and the reason why I have the 25 watt, not the full watt version, is it's just too much power. I would have to use an attenuator to get the full sound of the cranked amp. So the 25 watt, since I'm mainly playing like theaters to clubs at this point in my career, and for recording it doesn't really matter, so it's just what works best for me. Okay, Carlos Contreras says, can you do a tutorial for a song called Rompiendo el Silencio I'm guessing by Descendientes, Descendants. Sorry for my horrible Spanish pronunciation, Carlos, but this is probably the type of thing, unfortunately, I'd probably have to do like a commission lesson for. So let me break this down for the rest of you. For me to do a song that you request, and number one, has to be super popular. Number two, it has to be something that I already transcribed, not something that I would have to transcribe. And number three, it has to be a tutorial that no one has done well and done a popular lesson for. So if it meets those three qualifications, I'll most likely do it for free. But this one doesn't meet any of those qualifications, unfortunately. So it's one that you would probably have to pay me to do. So how I handle these commission lessons is basically you shoot me an email if you're interested. I would then give you an estimate for how much it would cost for me to do this, which is $55 an hour is what I teach for private lessons, and what I would need to do this lesson. So however many hours it would take at $55 an hour would be my answer. Okay, let's see here. All right, next question is from Wadey. Great question, one I get a lot. It says, how do you get used to strumming properly with your, in parenthesis, with your wrist and some elbow usage, end parenthesis, without getting into your own head about it? I'm still having issues with this, and it's mostly in part to me losing grip of the pick simultaneously. Any tips? Yes, lots of tips. Okay, so holding the pick first, and I'm going to use a green one. I normally use the black Tortex to show you this. So first off, holding the pick, make sure you're holding it on the side of the index and not with a pad, and then clamp the thumb around the top part. You'll see that my thumb, the rounded part of my thumb lines up the rounded top of the pick. These fingers, when strumming, should come out and be as relaxed as possible, as should the wrist. The wrist should be just total jello. And the movement's gonna come from the elbow, and the wrist, since it's just floppy, is just gonna move as the elbow moves. So the main thing to not lose your grip on the pick and to not strum too hard and have a nice natural strumming motion, all of that stuff, is to keep your strumming motion uniform from up and to down. So, if I do a slow motion, there's a little bit of turn of the wrist, like you're turning the doorknob, and you kind of need to retrace that turn and do it uniform up and down. And basically, I always forget whether it's centrifugal or centripetal force. That's pretty much holding the pick in place. So you really, between these two fingers, want to grip the pick as lightly as you can to not drop it. And if you're retracing that path nice and evenly and not strumming too hard, the pick will just hold itself in place as a result of centripetal or centrifugal force. So the problem that most people have is they grip too tightly, and if you hit the strings with a tightly gripped pick, you're hitting more tension, you're pushing more weight with the pick, and that extra energy is going to cause the pick to move around and wobble. So don't do that. All right, hopefully that answers your question. Okay, let's move on. Next question is from RJ Bizzle, 1984. So it says, thanks a lot for everything, Matt. Thank you for always watching. And he's basically asking if I'm a fan of Helmet and if I could do some Helmet stuff. And I kind of already answered this one, but directly. But yes, I will probably do some Helmet in the future. The few songs that I've transcribed, I believe off the top of my head, are In the Meantime, Milk Toast, and I think I did the Money Shot, which came out maybe like 8 years ago or so. And if you haven't heard that song, Money Shot by Helmet, it's awesome. Check it out. Okay, so next one is from Boomer89. It says, looking forward to this channel and growing and getting better and better. Well, thanks a lot. Me too. So he or she says, Jane's Addiction's Strays album is awesome. And yeah, here's one that kind of does meet the qualifications. A lot of people have, or no one has taught some of these songs from Strays. I've already transcribed them. And I know that they're already going to be popular with those guys, with most of my subscribers. So that's a definite maybe. I've got a lot of projects going on, but yeah, that's definitely stuff they'll add to my list and most likely will do in the future. Okay, so Basic Mario. Next question: what do you think is the best guitar color? A fun question. All right. So I actually had to think about this, and I think my favorite color or finishes are like the sparkle ones. Like my G&L's got like this aqua kind of sparkle to it, which is it's fun. And then otherwise, I'm kind of the other extreme. I like kind of really traditional looking instruments, like my P bass, like that, just old style Sunburst, or my wine red Les Paul, that kind of stuff. So sparkles or classic stuff, I guess is what I like. Okay. Let's see here. Somebody suggested some Jane's Addiction and Porno for Pyros, two of the bands that you guys request the most, along with Alice in Chains, and Foo Fighters is the other one. So, yeah, I kind of already mentioned that. I've done a lot of Jane's Addiction and Porno for Pyros already transcribed. So, yeah, I'll probably do that. Okay, great question from Gabster Plays here. This is, how many times should I practice a week and how long? This is if I want to take guitar seriously but still want to succeed in school. So awesome question. I love this one. So personally, I practice 5 days a week, or 6 days a week, sorry. That's typical for a professional, I'd say. I personally can't stand working or practicing all 7 days of the week. My perspective just goes out the window and I'm just kind of going through the motions. So I personally have to have a day off. And I'd recommend, doing the same thing. Get a 6-day week regimen going. If you can't keep that up or it just drives you crazy, do 5 days a week. And okay, so this is kind of my spiel on the way the world works right now. And education, regardless of what country you live in, is going to be your ticket to a successful future. Especially now that we have pretty much like a global economy going on. especially for me as a musician. It's my competition is global. It used to be local, but it's not at all. So try your best to do well in school. I know school is lame and it can totally suck if it's not your thing. It definitely wasn't my thing either until I got into college. Really, I hated every minute of elementary, junior high, and high school. I'm an American, so. But okay, so try to get your homework done and get good grades. Make that your top priority, and that will also give you the discipline to, I think, be a good musician too. So when I was growing up, I started playing when I was 11, and I pretty quickly got onto a regimen of about 3 hours a day that I continued all the way through college, and now that I'm a professional, it's more than that. I play maybe 4 or 5 hours a day. So to get really good, play as often and as much as you can. But I will say though, the way that you practice, the quality of your practice is far more important than quantity. So somebody that's practicing the right things and practicing well for half an hour a day is going to improve much more quickly than somebody that's practicing 2 hours a day and is just kind of like, putzing around and like, just hacking away at the guitar, if that makes sense. So hopefully that answers your question. Quality over quantity, and practice as much as you can. Okay, next one from United Fidor. I'd love to see Suffragette City by David Bowie and Dogs by Pink Floyd. So another two I've already transcribed and I imagine would be super popular. So if other people haven't done big lessons on those, yeah, I'll probably do those at some point. Okay, looks like maybe Langle Jamal. Sorry if I got that wrong. What is my favorite Nirvana album? That is an easy one. In Utero. Definitely my favorite album there. Alright, let's see some more of these questions you guys have here. Okay, we're getting to Light Row now. What is my favorite Nirvana song? Ooh, that's tough. So if I had to pick my favorite song, it's got to be something from In Utero, since that's my favorite album. And probably my favorite song on In Utero is either Serve the Servants or Francis Farmer. So maybe one of those two. Probably if I had to pick, Francis Farmer is my favorite Nirvana song. Okay, can I teach some Foo Fighters on guitar? Ooh, this is a dicey one for me. And I'm probably going to piss off a lot of you here. I personally just really don't care for the Foo Fighters at all. I really don't care for Dave Grohl as a person. I've never met the guy, but every time he seems to do an interview or open his mouth, I just get super angry. So it's very, very unlikely that I'll ever do Foo Fighters. Even if you wanted to pay me, I probably wouldn't want to teach Foo Fighters. I'd be far more likely to teach some of Chris Novoselic's other side projects, maybe Sweet 75, that kind of stuff, but I just don't do Foo Fighters. Okay, let's see. Would I do a demo on some budget guitars versus expensive guitars or something like that? So this is a topic that comes up all the time, and when I started playing in, like the early to mid 90s, the difference between an entry-level guitar and like a top-of-the-line guitar was like totally night and day. These days, entry-level guitars you get way a higher quality instrument for the price. So a lot of what you're paying for is where the guitar was constructed. And this, kind of gets into a political discussion again. For instance, like if you compare the quality of a top-of-the-line, like an Epiphone Standard or Custom, and compare that to, say, a Gibson Studio, for instance, the Epiphone's going to have a lot, in a lot of areas, it's going to be better, and it's going to cost less money, but you're paying for a Chinese-made guitar, which, doesn't exactly help anybody in America. So if you're an American and you have the money, you're probably better, if you're going the Epiphone Gibson route, I don't know what to tell you. Make your own decision, make up your own mind on this kind of stuff. So that's a real common question, is the difference between Epiphone and Gibson. Now, when it comes to Fender guitars, this is yet another political discussion. Fender doesn't pay their taxes, their income taxes, at least not all of them. They're kind of like Apple in that they're a company that stashes a lot of their money offshore, and consequentially, the American economy and the average Joe American worker like myself is getting the shaft. And Fender overprices their guitars anyway. So if people are like, should I get a Fender or a G&L? Get yourself a G&L. They're infinitely better guitars than what you're going to pay for a Fender. You're going to get way higher quality, and G&L now is making these days like their I forget what it's called, tribute models or something like that, instead of like their standard models. So if you're looking for like a Fender style guitar, get like a G&L tribute style guitar instead. You'll get a way better guitar for less money. Some of the other companies, like big American companies like Gibson, you're not getting the quality that you pay for either. I would say the only company that's like a big, huge name that gives you the quality that you actually pay for out of a guitar is Paul Reed Smith. You get every nickel and penny that you paid for quality-wise out of those guitars, which is not the case with Gibson or Fender. So if you're going to get an entry-level guitar, get one from one of the companies that doesn't suck. So that's kind of my general thoughts on budget guitars these days versus like top-of-the-line stuff. Unless you're a professional, there's absolutely no reason to own a top-of-the-line guitar. Nobody's going to hear the difference out of your playing, and the tone. It's pretty much going to sound the same. Playing a lower quality guitar that's less expensive. So I would say, save your money. It's better spent elsewhere, and until you're really like a real serious playing, all the time, playing professionally, playing for money, teaching for money person, save your money, and wait until that point to get something really nice. All right, so that covers all your questions. If anybody else has questions that I might have missed, just yell at me, and I'll answer it directly. Or on the next Q&A session. So, yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys around.